What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Patriots Pulse podcast. It's been a while. I know we usually go live on Tuesdays or Thursdays, but we wanted to get a show in before week two. But yeah, I'm back with Andrew. We're ready to talk. We're ready to talk Pats. We just had the big week one upset, the big week one win. But we're here to talk about that game and to preview week two against the Seahawks, the home opener. So before we begin, Andrew, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, dude. It feels good coming into a second week of the season, having won, opening week. So I'm hoping that they could keep the trend going. Not many people, I don't even think anyone would have predicted them to start off 2-0. So we'll talk about why they might go 2-0 or if they even have a chance to. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's possible. We'll see what happens on Sunday though.
hmm We're we're one day away, so we'll find out soon.
So we're gonna start this off with our week one thoughts, our thoughts, and just a recap. So, Carlos, what did you see from the Patriots offense week one, and what did they do well? What did they not do well?
So as far as their offense, I genuinely think that they honestly didn't exceed at anything. I know they had a good running, game plan and running attack, but it's just that it was not much created by the offensive line. I'll give them credit. They did do better than most people, would have expected, but I think a lot of it was Ramondre making those plays. I know like that stat's been going around about him getting 118 yards after contact, and he got 120 yards in total. Um, and people are pretty much saying like, oh, he only got 2 yards for free, kind of, without getting touched. But a lot of people have also been bringing up that the way that stat is created is pretty much even if he gets like a fingertip on him, that counts as contact. So a little bit skewed there, but regardless, I think that kind of attests to the fact that the offensive line didn't do amazing. That's why I'm saying I feel like they didn't exceed on anything. As far as the rushing attack, yeah, I do think it was Ramondre. That's what stood out. I think they did that really well. Their passing game, we can talk about that a little bit, but it wasn't great. I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think they can win many games with that type of passing game every single week. So other than that, nothing really stood out. I would just say it was the running game, but like I said, nothing really exceeded expectations.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Van Pelt a couple days ago said some weeks we're gonna run it 40 times, some weeks we're gonna pass it 40 times, and
Mhm,
week one was one of those weeks where they run it 40 times. So that's obviously going to change week to week depending on their matchup. But yeah, I think offensive line, it wasn't like outstanding or anything. It wasn't great, but we saw improvement, which I think really
mhm,
matters. They had some good flashes, like Layden Robinson on that Ramondre Stevenson touchdown run. He opened that lane up so well for
yeah,
Ramondre. He did a great job with that. Like everyone had their good moments, and I think that is
mhm,
definitely a one up from what we've seen so far this or what we saw in the summer, and I think they're on the right track. And I mean, as the season goes on, chemistry is going to build up, and they're going to continue to get better. And especially when City
mhm,
So returns, I think that's also going to be a nice little bump.
mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. I do think that as far as the offensive line, they definitely did much better in the run game compared to the pass game, and we could talk about that a little bit really quick, just because Jacoby Brissett got pressured on about almost 50% of his dropbacks. That's a pretty crazy stat if you think about it.
Yeah,
I know they only gave up 1 sack. Like I made the mistake of tweeting out they gave up 0 sacks because I didn't really remember the one that he rolled out and he slid right before he got to the line of scrimmage. They counted that as a sack. Um, but besides that, he did evade a lot of possible sacks. So they need to clean that up. It wasn't all like perfect. It wasn't all like, oh, this is their exact game plan they need to follow every week. There's still room for lots of improvement. And, I mean, Gerard Mayo, he would preach it before the season started that development isn't linear. So I do think that they were at like a stagnant pace for a little bit, and then this week one game they kind of shot up. Like they did a lot better. They improved within that week with that game plan. But let's see if they could keep it going in that trajectory, or if maybe they figure something else out, or maybe they fail to figure something else out for week 2. So we'll see how that goes.
And I mean, shout out Jacoby Brissett for he had a
Mhm,
great game. I mean, only threw for like 130 passing yards, or about that, but
mhm,
the game wasn't a huge emphasis for the Pats on Sunday.
mhm,
But he did a great job of evading pressure, like you just alluded to. And he played a turnover-free game. He didn't make any like dumb mistakes that would cost them. And I think the offense did a really good job at sustaining longer drives and keeping the
mhm,
Bengals offense off the field because the defense
mhm.
had a great game, but once the Bengals got that Zach Moss touchdown, they started to pick things up a bit. Defense stepped up, but they're going to have to continue to keep opposing offenses off the field if they want to win more games this season.
Yeah, definitely. I would say the only mistake that I could genuinely think that Jacoby Brissett made was that one errant throw to Hunter Henry that almost got picked off in the end zone, and Hunter Henry pretty much slapped it out of the defender's hands. Other than that, nothing else really stood out that he put like the ball in harm's way, or he put the offense in jeopardy. Like he controlled the game. He looked like a vet out there. Like we haven't seen that in a long time with the Patriots. Like seeing a vet control the game. Even David Andrews talked about it on his podcast with Brian Hoyer. Like he enjoys the feeling of having a veteran presence back there at quarterback. I do think that makes a very big difference. But I will transition over to the defense because I know we just talked about the offense. That was the one that was a little bit shaky, not that great. But man, the defense really like they surprised me because I believe it was in our, like, 2nd episode that I was like, "Yeah, I could see them being, like, a top 15 defense because of the Matthew Judon thing, they don't have Christian Barmore," but they looked like a top 5 defense on Sunday, like, it was crazy how much pressure they got on Joe Burrow. They just looked like the better unit overall being on the field with them. Um, they didn't look like they missed a step. DeMarcus Covington had them, like, buttoned up and ready, like, they really impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked by the amount of pressure they were getting on Joe Burrow with the pass rush with Barmore and Judon out or Judon gone and Barmore out.
Mm.
But yeah, I think like everyone really stepped up. Daniel Iguale had a great game. Dietrich Wise, Devon Godshaw did a great job shutting down the run like he usually does. Keon White, 2.5 sacks. I think Bill Belichick on Inside the NFL yesterday picked him as his week one like standout player. I could be wrong about that though. I think I
Yeah,
saw.
he picked him as, like, his football guy of the week for week 2, or I don't know if it was for week 2 or if it was just, like, for his performance last week, but yeah, he did pick him. He spoke, like, very highly of him.
Yeah, but they did a really good job stepping up, and that defensive back unit, they also did a really good job. I was a little worried about them just because they have so many young, unproven guys, but they showed to be a really stable unit, or
Mhm.
even better than
Yeah,
just.
I mean yeah, like, Marcus Jones, I think he made a big difference. Like, he might have not made that many plays, um, but he for sure, like, came back and didn't look like he missed a step at all. He was out there, like, making tackles. I remember he like, very early on in the game, he hit a guy, like, right below the knees, and he stopped him from getting the first down. It was a big play that was kind of overshadowed just because, like I said, it was at the very beginning of the game, but he was flying all over the field. I think he made a big difference for them. Um, Obviously Gonzo did amazing. Like that's kind of like the expectation now. And then Jonathan Jones, he was like, I think he was the second highest rated corner in all of PFF across the league, and it showed. Like he had a really good game. Honestly he's getting up there in age, and typically when cornerbacks get over the age of 30, 31, they start declining a little bit. But you did not see that at all from him. I'm pretty sure this is a contract year for him. I might be wrong. Um, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe he plays a lot harder. We'll see because this could be his final contract in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, they played really well. I do think that the standouts were definitely Keon White, obviously. And I think the one you mentioned, Daniel Iguale. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. Um, he's pretty much. I'm not going to say he's filling in for Barmore, but
Yeah,
he's definitely playing more now because of it. And he missed all of last season because of an injury, um, and he came back, and not many people really talk about him just because he has been a rotational depth piece, but he played a big role. He's gonna continue playing a big role throughout the season, and yeah, as long as they keep these guys playing at a high level, keeping them, bought in, and pretty much performing every week, I think they can finish as a top 5 defense. I'm gonna change my prediction from top 15 to top 5. I genuinely think they could finish top 5.
Yeah, Covington's doing great work with this defense. Like
Mhm.
really great work. I mean, the tackling
Right.
was absurdly great. Like I think they missed a
Mhm.
total of like 5 tackles. That's amazing to do. Like,
Yeah. They
um,
missed the least amount of tackles in all of the NFL.
yeah, but yeah. So I think we're gonna move on to the biggest winners of Week One. Carlos, who is your biggest winner?
I would say my biggest winner, I spoke about him earlier, I would say it's Marcus Jones. And I just don't wanna be like, basic and pick Keon White or Christian Gonzalez or Ramondre Stevenson. I know you might pick them right now, but, I would say Marcus Jones, like I said, he came back. A lot of people thought he wouldn't be in the rotation much, or that I had spoken to someone earlier in the offseason that's connected within the Patriots, and they even said that the Patriots were a little bit skeptical of like his injury history and whether or not he can stay healthy and if he can come back and make the same impact or make an impact. He pretty much, shut all that down on Sunday. He definitely played really well. I do think that he's going to continue making plays throughout the season, and his presence is going to be felt again.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm gonna be a little basic here. I'm not going player. I'm going coach. I'm going with Gerard Mayo as my biggest Week One winner. What a start to the Mayo era! That was a great coaching performance by him. Great game plan to match what the Bengals were showing. Um, it was just a really good, really great executed game. No turnovers, keep the Bengals offense off the field, like we said a little bit earlier. But overall, it was just a great coaching job by Mayo, and just a
Mhm.
great way to start the new era.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
completely
think
agree. I mean, go
yeah,
ahead. You're good.
I was gonna say because this like they're starting to build or not yet, but um, if you start to rack up some of these wins, even if it's like 6 or 7, that shows the players that we're improving and they're buying into the culture. They're buying into the new Mayo culture.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that was, like, a lot of people criticized the Gerard Mayo hiring, like, even before the guy stepped on the field to coach. So, he showed how ready and prepared he got those guys, like, Devon Gottschalk, when he brought him onto his, YouTube show, I posted the clip of him saying, like, yeah, that everybody would run through a brick wall for him, like, that they're all bought in, and obviously it got recognition, like, people talked about it and everything, but I don't think people genuinely believed it, if that makes sense. Like, they heard it, but they didn't really, take it in
Buy
and
into it.
understand, like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is the case, and you could see that on Sunday. You could see how much they enjoy playing for him, how important, the stuff he says, like, how much they value his advice and what he has to say and his coaching style. Gerard Mayo even said it in the post game like locker room video. He said like, "Don't get mad at us if we coach you hard. Like it's for a reason." Um, so he's got them in a good mindset, and yeah, I completely agree. He was definitely the biggest winner. Like if you if you talk about it in totality, he was definitely the biggest winner from the Patriots organization.
Yeah. Also, I just want to bring up Jabril Peppers' intensity and just the fire and passion that dude has. Just him on the sideline after that win and heading back into the tunnel. Like those
Mhm.
videos were just awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, having him on the team makes such a big difference. Um, he's definitely someone that he deserved to be a captain. I think he deserved to be a captain last season, and he wasn't. But I'm so glad he got it this season. And they need people like that, culture setters, tone setters, that are going to be with them. Not even I don't want to say during the rebuild necessarily, but like just there in general. Like they need people in the organization like that. So I agree.
I think it's good to have those veteran guys because they kind of set the culture for the new guys coming in for the start of the rebuild. Like this draft class, they're gonna set the culture for them,
Mhm.
kind of.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so moving on to week one, biggest losers. Um, I really can't see any other big loser than Chukwuemeka for.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
a rough showing for him, starting on the left edge. And after, I think it was around 15 snaps, after he let up a couple pressures, he was benched for Vidarian Lowe, who was battling an injury throughout
Mhm.
the week. And it looks like Lowe has replaced him this week in the starting lineup, at least from what has been said throughout practice from uh, reporters.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number was like 3 pressures on 6 pass snaps, um, and he earned a 0 out of 100 on PFF. So, rough showing for him. He started off the offseason as like a solidified starting tackle, whether it's on the left side or right side, and he's quickly dropped himself down to backup role. Um, he's definitely, yeah, like he would be the biggest loser, but it's crazy to think that no one really comes to mind other than him. I don't know if you agree with that, but the only person I could think of that had maybe a shaky performance was I would say Marco Wilson. Like he had that PI that was like the 20-yard PI, and that's it. Del Pettis had that penalty on the opening kickoff. You know, rookie jitters. I get it. Um, that's it. Like, I can't really think of, like, a genuine, like, guy that ruined or not ruined, but, hurt his status on the team, I guess you could say, or on the depth chart other than Chuks Okorafor. So, yeah, I agree. It's crazy that genuinely I can't think of many people or anyone in general.
Yeah, I mean, but in a sense that's good in a sense that
Yeah.
just everything
Mhm.
was clicking for them.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like I mentioned at the very beginning during the recap, it's not like a good it's a good baseline to have. Like, they need to grow from it. I feel like this week, if some of the guys play the same way, then it can start becoming an issue, but they just need to keep growing from the baseline that they had week 1.
Yeah. But so moving on to our week two preview, um, just our overall outlook for tomorrow. Carlos, what are your main thoughts as we come back to Gillette and face off against the Seahawks?
Um, so the first thing I will say, I see Heckman said it in the Twitter comments. Do they cover the spread against the Seahawks? I think they do. I think the running game allows them to. I won't get too much into it because I'm not gonna lie, I don't do sports betting, but I understand like the process of it. But I do think they cover the spread. Um, as far as the Seahawks in particular and like the matchups, what I'm expecting for the home opener, I think there's going to be a lot of key matchups in this game, and I understand that football is a team sport, but it will be a lot of one-on-one battles that are going to determine how well the team plays. Um, I think that the tackles going up against Boye Mafe, he likes to rush off the right side of their line, so on the left side of the offensive line. Um, Vidarian Lowe against Boye Mafe, who had 9 pressures last week, that worries me. Um, we'll see how that goes. That's like one of those, one of those one-on-one battles that I just mentioned, like that could determine the outcome of the game. I know a lot of people are kind of saying like, oh, their D line or their linebackers aren't that great. Like some of them are hurt right now, or they have good run stopping defenders on the interior and at the linebacker position. So I don't think it's going to be easy to run on them. And then they have some studs at corner. Like their defense is really good. Um, and I think a lot of those matchups are going to be Patriots offense and Seahawks defense based. I could get into more particulars, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I mean, I think okay. I think the Patriots offense is going to have to be a bit run heavy. They got some really good corners in Seattle there. So I think they're going to uh, make life hard on the patch receivers. But like you alluded to, they also have some really good run stoppers. So
Mm,
this game is really going to come down to how the offensive line performs, blocking for Ramondre. And I think Ramondre is going to have another big game if they want to come away with a win today. I mean, they're going up against Mike McDonald defense that's very versatile. Um, they it's going to be really hard for them to get some great drives going through their passing
mm,
offense. Um, but I do think that um, for Jacoby Brissett, he's going to have to play another uh, protective kind of game. Like he's going to have to keep the ball safe,
mm,
like he did last week. But I do think it's going to be a little easier for the Patriots compared to Seattle's future matchups in terms of how prepared they are. Just because I think the defense that the Patriots are playing in practice right now is going to do or is has done a good job at imitating Seattle's defense. But I do think they'll be a little more prepared in that sense. But this game's going to
mm.
have to be won on the ground.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, um, they do have I mean, like, last week, they had the whole Alex Van Pelt, having experience against the Bengals, when he was previously on the Browns. Um, Now they have Drew Wilkins, one of their positional coaches. He had overlap with Mike McDonald when they were on the Ravens. Tyler Hughes, their wide receivers coach, he had overlap at, UW with, Ryan Grubb, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. So they might have some intel on those guys, like, that is important. They might know, like, their tendencies and what they like to do, so I do trust that, the coaching staff is getting them prepared as far as, like you said, like, imitating the defense and imitating the offense as well. So I do trust that. As far as another matchup, um, you alluded to the corners, you spoke about the corners that they have. Devon Witherspoon, he's a monster, like, he's gonna lock up whoever he's guarding. Um, Tariq Woolen, he's interesting just because he's like a interception machine. Like he's going to be around the ball. But the one thing is that they always have him follow the X receiver on the other team. If that's the case, if you line him up or if you match up Tyquan Thornton on him, I'm not saying Tyquan can't make an impact, but you could just pretty much throw him out over there on the one side of the field, have him run vertical routes or something, like, negate the impact that Tariq Woolen can have. I think that can make a big difference. Um, but yeah, like, those corners, they are gonna be an issue, like, without a doubt, and Trey Brown is their other corner that lines up on the boundary. He could get picked on a little bit, so we'll see what their game plan is, but I completely agree with you. The running game, once again, that's gonna be the most important thing. Gerard Mayo's pretty much, like, challenged every NFL team in his press conferences saying, like, "We're gonna run the ball. You guys know we're gonna run the ball, and we're gonna keep running the ball." So we'll see how that goes. I really liked how in the mic'd up segment, or actually it was in the locker room huddle at the very end of the game, the behind the scenes look. He even like walked up to Ramondre and he was like, "What did I tell you about? Like we talked about this." So I'm not like obviously we don't know the specifics of what he said, but clearly like they trust him. They've spoken
Yeah.
about it. He knows like what's expected of him. So I do think the running game is gonna be the most important thing by far. So I think the interior line in particular is going to have to do a much better job of run blocking. I'm not saying that they didn't do a good job week 1, but they need to definitely improve. It can't like I said, it can't be that continuous baseline. They need to improve from that.
Yeah, 100%. But translating over to the defense, has I do have a question for you. Has Kenneth Walker been ruled out yet, or is he still just doubtful?
He's still doubtful, but
Okay.
he hasn't practiced all week. I think that's just their way of saying he's not playing, but let's
Yeah.
keep the Patriots on their toes, you know? So, yeah, I don't think he plays.
If Walker did play, I think the New England defense would have to put an emphasis on stopping the run and stopping him from finding open space because he's just that good of a player. But with him out, I obviously that will help them place more of an emphasis on stopping Seattle's passing attack. Um, we'll see how they do against those Seattle receivers. I think it will be a tougher matchup compared to the Bengals passing offense, especially since they had Higgins out and honestly, the Bengals were just really sloppy week 1. Um,
Mm,
but So we'll see how they do. I'm really interested to see how Christian Gonzalez faces up against such a physical receiver in DK
Mhm.
Metcalf. Um, Also looking forward to the other corner matchups. Probably see John Jones on JSN and Lockett. Really interested to see the Marcus Jones versus Tyler Lockett
Mhm.
matchup. I think that's going to be really fun to watch. Um, but yeah, but I do think the main way they're going to have to stop the Seattle passing attack is getting pressure on Geno Smith and making sure that these receivers don't have enough time to get open.
Yeah, I mean, they already not ruled out. Same case with Kenneth Walker. George Fant, who is their backup right tackle, because Abraham Lucas is their starting right tackle. George Fant is their backup. Both of them. So Abraham Lucas is already out. That's a given. Like that's for sure. George Fant, he's actually listed as doubtful as well. So they'll be on their third string right tackle. Uh, they need to take advantage of that. Pressure Geno Smith, force him to make the mistakes, get scared in the pocket, um, get a lot of pressures on him, whether it's QB hits as well. Like they definitely need to take advantage of their banged up offensive line. Um, I did find it interesting. I want to see their cornerback matchup, or yeah, their cornerback matchups, like you mentioned. Um, I feel like Gonzo on Metcalf is like pretty much a given. We'll see how much man they run. I know they ran 40% man this last week. 60% was in zone, so that's kind of a lot for the Patriots.
Yeah,
They had Gonzo dropping back in zone a lot of the times, like running cover three with him as I guess you could call it like a safety sometimes. Cover he was even running cover two as a safety. Like he would act like he was gonna play man on someone and then run straight back, like backpedal straight back to play zone to play deep zone. So we'll see how that goes. I'm I'm not gonna say I'm worried about like Gonzo's literally proven that he could hang with the best receivers.
yeah,
Um, but he and I know it was his first game ever in the NFL, but physical receivers like Metcalf have given him issues in the past, and I'm speaking about AJ Brown in particular. He gave him the most issues out of any receiver he's defended in his short career in his 5 games. So we'll see how that goes. I do trust that Gonzo can shut down DK Metcalf. And when I say shut him down, I don't necessarily mean like him, not allowing a single catch not allowing a single catch at all during the game. I just think it's going to coincide with the pass rush and Gonzo being good at keeping him in check at the start of the route.
yeah,
I'm not going to say that he's going to press him and he's not going to jam up DK Metcalf at the line. I guarantee that. Like DK Metcalf is much bigger, much stronger. Um, but you also spoke about the other corner matchups. You think that Marcus Jones is going to be particularly on Tyler Lockett or JSN? Because I think it's going to be JSN matched up with Marcus Jones like a lot of the time, and Tyler Lockett with Jonathan Jones a lot of the time. That's the matchups I'm expecting.
yeah. Well, it depends on who's going to be playing in the slot more. Um,
Mhm,
so I do think JSN will be playing in the slot a little bit more.
mhm,
But I'm just excited to see Marcus Jones against Tyler Lockett when that matchup does happen. But yeah, I think it will be John Jones mostly on JSN. Marcus Jones mostly on JSN,
mhm,
and John Jones mostly on Lockett. We'll see how they do there. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how Gonzalez does against DK. I mean, Gonzalez is a physical corner when he can be,
mhm.
but I just worry that DK is just a huge human being. Um, and like at the catch point going up, I think if he allows that to happen, but we'll see how that goes. I do think he'll be playing back on DK. But yeah, it's all about getting pressure on Geno Smith and making sure those receivers don't get open. And luckily for the Patriots, they have Keon White. So we'll see
Sure.
how the pass rush does this week, but hopefully it'll mimic what their performance from last week against the Bengals.
Yep. One slightly like I guess you could say under the radar matchup that I'm interested to see. Um, I'm interested to see if they have Kyle Duggar play man on Noah Fant a lot. They already ruled out Pharaoh Brown, Patriots legend Pharaoh Brown, so we're not going to be able to see the revenge game. um, which sucks because Pharaoh Brown's everyone loves him. Um, but I do wanna see who guards Noah Fant because he's no slouch. Like, he might not put up big numbers. He's had, like, very high moments in his career, and then he's pretty much died down since, but he can be a threat in the pass game. So I'm interested to see who they put on him, whether it's, like, Jalen Hawkins, coming in to play man on him, or they do put Kyle Duggar on him. Kyle Duggar, everyone knows he's not the greatest in man coverage. He almost gave up that touchdown to Mike Gesicki last week. That should have been the touchdown, but Mike Gesicki himself dropped it. So I'm interested to see how that matchup goes because I trust the corners. I do think that they can, do a good amount of, I guess, or negate a good amount of damage done to the secondary. But Kyle Duggar's the one guy I don't really trust as far as playing man on someone. So I'm interested to see who they put on him and whether or not they can. Like honestly, from the Seahawks perspective, I could see Noah Fant making an impact on the game if they put someone like Kyle Duggar on him. So we'll see how they utilize him. Don't be surprised if he catches like a random touchdown out of nowhere. I could totally see it happening. I do think that the Patriots sometimes struggle guarding tight ends. Like if you genuinely think about it, the Bengals almost had two tight end touchdowns last week with Mike Gesicki and when Tanner Hudson idiotically put the ball out in front of him and Kyle Duggar slapped it out of his hand right at the goal line. So we'll see how the tight end matchups work.
Defense is definitely going to have to get some turnovers. But yeah,
Mhm,
going back to what you're saying about the tight ends, I do think it will be a mix of Kyle Duggar and Jalen Hawkins. Hawkins spent a lot of time in the box last week, so I think
mhm,
that'll repeat against Noah Fant. Because, like you said, Noah Fant is not a player to mess with. He can be a vertical tight end when he um, and really hurt you there.
mhm.
So we'll see how that matchup goes. But moving on to the Patriots will beat the Seahawks if who how will they beat the Seahawks?
I think the Patriots will beat the Seahawks if they get at least 2 passing touchdowns. That's my prediction. That's like my bold prediction. I genuinely think that they need the passing game to be effective in this game. They can't. I know we talked about it, like, the run game is the most important thing by far, but they need something out of the passing game in order to beat the Seahawks. Because I do think that as much, slack as Geno Smith gets and their offense, like, people don't believe in him and all this and that, they have weapons on offense, and, like, even if Kenneth Walker doesn't play, Zach Charbonnet, he's no guy to mess with either. Like, he's shown whenever Kenneth Walker's out that he can carry the workload, he can make an impact. So, I do think that they need to score the points in order to beat the Seahawks, and I think that's going to have to be done through the passing game. Um, they like, I don't know how many you brought it up earlier. I think Jacoby Brissett had somewhere between, like, 120 or 130 yards, something between that in the whole game against the Bengals. That can't happen again. Um, he needs to throw some touchdowns, and I can easily see it happening. Like we saw it during. I know this is a bad example, but we saw it during practices that he has like a good rapport with Hunter Henry, for example. Like I can totally see Hunter Henry getting a touchdown this week. Um, I can see a crosser going for a touchdown, like or a screen pass going for a touchdown to like Ramondre or something. Like they can score in the passing game. It doesn't have to be like a 40-yard bomb down the field, and that's the only way they score. Um, I do think that they need at least two passing touchdowns in order to beat the Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I think um, the Patriots will beat the Seahawks if Ramondre Stevenson can have another big week. Obviously, Seahawks have a good run defense. Bengals don't really, so it's going to be a lot tougher for them this week. But I do think they're going to have to win against the Seahawks the way they won last week on offense. Just um, just pure ground game and keep the ball safe. But I do agree with you that they have to incorporate some more in the passing attack. And I
Mhm,
do think that comes with I do think that will be adjusted on multiple occasions on last Sunday, we saw like Demario Douglas get open and Jalen Polk get open, um, and they just weren't Brissett's first read, and I think that will
Yeah.
be adjusted in practice. KJ Osborne was their uh, top guy in terms of who the first read was. I do think they might change that or
Mhm.
get Douglas more first reads, Polk more first reads. So I do think the passing offense will be a little bit better. Um, but we'll see how they do against that secondary. But I do think Ramondre is going to have another big game.
Yeah. I definitely think it's going to be up to the offense if they're going to win this game. I don't think it's like a defensive thing. Like we trust the defense. Um, Even if they let up a couple touchdowns, it's up to the offense to score more points. So I know the defense could score some, turnover touchdowns, like whether it's a pick six, a fumble recovery, but it will be up to the offense to win this game.
Yeah, definitely. So to end our show, we're going to do game predictions. Final score, team MVPs on offense and defense. Carlos, what is your final score prediction?
So last week I actually had the Patriots losing. I thought it was going to be a one score game, but they would lose. So I'm a believer now. I'm going to go with the Patriots. I'm going to go. I was debating like the exact point total. I do think the final score is going to be between 25 and 20 points for the Patriots. That's my guess. So I'm going to go with 23, let's say 23-20. I'm not going
Okay.
to say it's like a last minute game winning field goal by Joey Sly. Obviously, that'd be cool, but that'd be too stressful for my mental health. And for me, just watching it, my heart's going to be racing if that's the case. But I know it would be an exciting outcome, but I think it's going to be 23-20. Um, I'm going to try to predict the future here. I think the Seahawks get like another opportunity like the Bengals did, try to score, tie up the game, take the lead or something, but the defense is going to hold strong, get the ball back. They're going to run out the clock. That's going to be game. So I'm going to say 23-20 is the final score prediction. Patriots winning it for their home opener, starting off 2-0 after people predicting that they would be the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. But I'm going to be a bit of a party pooper. People are going to hate me for this. Um, I do think this game comes down to the fourth quarter. I think it'll be a one score game throughout the first three. I think it's going to be really tight, but I do think the Seahawks pull away at the end with game uh, a game winning drive like midway through the fourth, and the Patriots just can't respond on offense facing that Mike McDonald Seahawks defense. So my final score prediction, I think Patriots going to end up with 16 points again, uh, mostly field goals from Joey Sly. And the Seahawks are going to end with 20. So I got Seahawks winning 20-16.
All right. So pretty, we're both predicting a. I'm not gonna say that's not necessarily a low scoring affair, but no like 30-point game from each side. I honestly like the Seahawks offense. Like I said, they're not one to be messed with. Like they have weapons, but they don't scream like, oh, they can always get 30 plus points.
Yeah,
This might come back to bite me, but I just don't see a team putting up 30 points on this Patriots defense. Um, I I don't see a team putting up more than 20 points, if I'm being honest. I know I have them right at 20. So I'm gonna trust the defense on this one. I know you think the Seahawks might pull away. I could see that happening too, but I'm gonna try to go in with this game with a different sense of optimism because I was optimistic last week, but I just thought they probably won't pull it out. It's the same old Patriots. That's like last week's game is a game they would have lost the past 3 years, like without a
yeah,
doubt. So I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna buy into this Gerard Mayo led team. Send them to the hill at the very end of the game. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, I could see it going both ways, obviously, but I'm gonna stand true to my prediction. I think it's gonna be 23-20. I think they're gonna pull it off. But if we want to talk about team MVPs in particular, I do think that this game it will be Jacoby Brissett if my prediction holds true, I think it's going to be a Jacoby Brissett. He's going to be the offensive MVP. Like he's going to be that guy for the team. If I'm choosing a defensive MVP, it's going to have to be Gonzo. I think that's going to be him shutting down DK Metcalf. So that's my, I guess you could say, prediction winners. Like those are the guys that I predict are going to be winners on Sundays tomorrow.
I'm gonna I'm gonna copy you on the offense. I'm gonna go with Jacoby Brissett as well. Um, just because I think he's gonna do a good job at protecting the football. I think it's gonna be a turnover-free game for the offense. Cross my fingers. Um, but I do think he's gonna do a good job of protecting the ball, not putting it in harm's way. Um, and that's such a crucial thing to do. That's such a crucial thing to do for the Patriots this season. They cannot afford to turn the ball over if they want to win games. And if they do that, then they're going to have to get a turnover on defense um, to match with that. But I think it's going to be a clean game for them in terms of turnovers, and obviously Jacoby Brissett will be at the helm of that. So I do think Jacoby Brissett will be the offensive MVP. But for defense, I'm going with my guy that I picked last week, Jawan Bentley. We've been talking about how they have to stop the Bengals' passing attack. Kenneth Walker being out for sure helps, but Zach Charbonnet is still not a running back to mess with and really just kind of not like focus on. He's still a good running back, and I think Jawan Bentley kind of being there, if he finds an open gap, Jawan Bentley's going to close it immediately. And I think he's just such a good run defender, and he's such a good field general that he's also going to help the Patriots put an emphasis on the passing attack because of his ability to be that second force in stopping the run.
Yeah, yeah. I could totally see him making the biggest impact. I think he had a good game last week. PFF didn't agree. I thought Gonzo had a good game last week. PFF didn't agree, but yeah, I completely agree. We'll see how that goes. I I'm like wondering how they're going to rotate like their pass rushers, their linebackers. I think Jelani Tavai could make a big impact too. I think the interior of the defense just pretty much making the run game not an option for the Seahawks. That could definitely swing, the game the Patriots way. That could totally make a big difference. So yeah, I agree. Um, I did want to ask though, and we're going to veer off course a little bit. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I wanted to ask your opinion on the state of like the AFC East. So we just had like the big injury with Tua just happened. Um, prayers to him. Hope he recovers genuinely. That was
Yeah,
scary to watch
it
live,
was
but
scary.
uh, so hopefully he comes back healthy for the sake of like competition for his health, um, his career. But I wanted to ask your opinion on the AFC East because the Bills just, even when Tua was healthy during that game, they just stomped the Dolphins. Um, Dolphins might be without their franchise quarterback now. The Jets are the Jets. What do you think about the state of the AFC East right now? Obviously, including the Patriots.
Um, I came into the season with the Bills still as the number one team in the AFC East, and I'm going to stick with that.
Mm,
They showed that even with Tua in, they were doing great against the Dolphins. They were shutting down their passing attack, really holding Tyreek and his
mm,
or preventing Tyreek from making a big impact. Um, I didn't get to see a lot of the Jets Niners games, so I'm not gonna talk too much about the Jets. Um, but I do think the Bills are still the top. But obviously, with the Dolphins losing Tua and Skylar Thompson coming in as a starter, if Tua, well, they play the Dolphins week 5 or 6.
yeah, 5.
Either way, I don't think Tua is going to be back by then. If he is back this season at all, we'll see if
Mm,
what he decides for his career and his health. But obviously, having Skylar Thompson there, that's going to help the Patriots out a lot, and they can get a win against Skylar Thompson much easier than they could against Tua. Um, so that helps out the Pats a lot. Um, but I mean, I still think it's the Bills and the Jets at the top, and I think if Tua's out the whole season, I think the Pats and Dolphins are going to be a little interchangeable. Their passing offense is still going to be pretty good in Miami with their all the players that they have to just generate so many yards after the catch. But yeah, we'll see how that shapes out. But I do think it's a lot. It's going to be a bit closer than people were expecting
Yeah.
coming into the year.
Yeah, I know it sounds outlandish and crazy. It's only been 1 week of football, but there is a path for the Patriots to finish at least top 2 in their division now. Before, I genuinely didn't see it. I don't think anyone else saw it. I think everyone felt like they were gonna be the 4th team. They were gonna finish last in the AFC East, but I think there's a legitimate, like, shot at them finishing top 2. Um, 1st place, that's questionable. We'll see how well they play the first couple weeks, the first month of the season. Maybe it's not a facade, and maybe they're really good. But I can't see a path with that. I do think that it is possible. I think that the Jets. I don't. I'm not a believer in them. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I, I don't know. Not even like talking trash about the Jets just because they're in the AFC East. Like just the team in general, they don't radiate. That's the funny word to use, but like aura. Like they just don't have like they just don't have like that pool that other teams have of like, yeah, like I'm excited, like this team can do really good, like they can make it far. I don't get that with them. And I'll give credit, I'll prove it right now. Like I see that with like the Bills, for example. I see that with the Dolphins. Those are teams that I could totally see like making a run in the playoffs and making it to the Super Bowl if anything, or the AFC Championship. So I just don't see that with the Jets. If the Dolphins don't have Tua, I agree. Like the Patriots already beat Skylar Thompson once. Um, Obviously, they could do it again with their defense. So the Bills are definitely the team to worry about still. They proved that they could be a running team, like a run first team. Like James Cook had himself a game. Um, that'll be interesting to watch when they play the Bills. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a closer race than most people thought in the AFC East. So that's why I wanted to ask. I wanted to see where your head was at as far as that, because if they finish top 2, um, I know it's crazy to think. I know a lot of people are going to be complaining that like, oh, like the Patriots could have gotten a better draft pick if they tanked. Like now they're in the middle of the pack. Um, obviously don't agree with that. I'd much rather see a competitive season, um,
yeah.
especially considering like this team plays so good, and you're gonna drop your 3rd overall pick in there at some point. So I'd much rather see that. So I'm excited. Yeah, but as far as like the AFC East in particular, I think the Patriots have a shot at the top two spots.
I would say top two just yet. Got to see how the Jets do the next couple of weeks, especially Thursday night against the Patriots. We'll see that matchup. Um, um, CBS put up a nice graphic of Jacoby Brissett facing off against Aaron Rodgers last Thursday. Um, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Um, man, I was gonna say something. I just completely lost my train of thought. Damn. Um, all right, I'm not gonna embarrass myself. So I think that's gonna cap off our show for today. Um, you can find Carlos at Los Talks Pacts on Twitter. You can find me at NSPGS also on Twitter. Um, but yeah, we'll let you guys know when we're gonna go live next week. Definitely gonna be covering um, the matchup against the Seahawks and previewing um, the Thursday night matchup against the Jets. So yeah, we'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for tuning in. We had a great time talking, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.